She is one of Nigeria's most influential women. This self-made billionaire has had a formidable presence in the world of fashion, oil, and banking. Yet it is her work with widows and orphans that has struck a special chord in her heart.
I've always had a passion to want to help those who are in need. And in my fashion business, because I was on the high street, I had a lot of people walking in asking for one assistance or the other. And I would always, in my own little way, lend a hand of support. And one day when I was in private prayer, the Lord ministered to me that James 1:27, verse 27. And to my utter amazement, I found out that he was calling me to the ministry of widows and orphans. It was the Lord's idea. It was the Lord's doing. It was his calling.
Mrs. Alakija established the Rose of Sharon Foundation, a non-profit organization that empowers women and children by granting them non-interest-bearing loans and scholarships to help them get back on their feet.
The way we wanted to run the foundation is not to give them fish, but to teach them how to fish, so that they will be self-sufficient, so that they be, bolder, and so that they would be able to do things for themselves, rather than be expecting and receiving handouts.
Besides her charity work, Mrs. Alakija also has a love for entrepreneurship and talks about where her passion stemmed from.
I had always known in my heart that I would end up being a businesswoman. My parents had always been in business all their lives. They were in the textile business, and I watched them as I grew. I just enjoy being in business and doing any form of business whatsoever. I have never sat back at any point in time. I have always been selling one thing or the other. Sometimes I would buy a container load of rice and sell it during my holidays. I was always selling one thing or the other. I just could never sit still.
Mrs. Alakija has written an autobiography about her life and her passion for widows and orphans, entitled Growing with the Hand That Gives the Rose. She says the secret to true success is to build on the gifts God has given you.
The will of God is more important than our will. We must always find out what God's will is for our lives, rather than what our friends doing, what we think we should be doing, or what we want to be doing. Once we take everything to the Lord in prayer, He'll open our eyes. And when He does, I can assure you, life becomes a lot easier.
She also encourages entrepreneurs to spend time discovering what their God-given talents are and to build on them.
Look around you and start small and build on it, and ask God to open your eyes to know what your talents are, what gifts He has given you, because God gives each and every one of us a talent or talents. So you have to find out what yours is, because that is what God has given you grace and an enablement to do with ease. So you don't want to find yourself being in the wrong line of business just because your friend is in that business. That doesn't mean that is the grace that God has given you, because you need to enjoy what you're doing. It's not just all about money, because when you enjoy it, then you can put more effort into it and achieve more out of it.
Mrs. Alakija credits the joy and satisfaction in her life to an event that took place at the age of 40, when she made a decision that forever altered her outlook on life.
I gave my life to Christ. I was going to church regularly, and within me, I knew that something had taken place. There was something new all about me. I began to realize suddenly and see the awesomeness of God in all living things, in plants, in animals, and the beauty and awesomeness of God in human beings. I began to see the incredible works of God and His awesome, mighty power. And if I were to register any name again for anything, I'd like to use the word awesome in that name, whatever I do, because every day, even till now, I continue to see the awesomeness of God.